So today's topic is going to be our dialing features. We're going to go into a tiny touch of like the compliance elements and some of the functionality that it has. Then we're going to really spend more time focused on setting it up. There will be like how to use it on Monday. Um, but I just want to really go through and make it clear as far as how the setup differs from the use of it. Because if you're not the account owner or an admin, you don't have the ability to set these things up. So just FYI on that. Let me just share my screen with you. I'm going to also pop this presentation deck into the chat. I do see some people that haven't been on the previous days. So I'll just explain a little bit how this presentation works. So here's our schedule for the rest of the work sessions. So Monday is like the phone dialing best practices for agents. Then Tuesday is building automated workflows, Wednesday carriers, Thursday products, commissions, and reconciliation, and Friday saved reports for your goals. The previous items are all on the article. So let me show you. The recordings are available in this training seminars article. Yesterday's is still not uploaded because I've got to edit something, but that's available for you. And then the work sessions, so that way I can actually help you do these things in the moment, are here for that RSVP link. These are your key dates to know. These are some of the CMS marketing rules and how we've turned these restrictions on you into opportunities and features within Radius. We definitely believe turning regulations into opportunities is important. Now, one of the kind of known CMS rules is you have to have your conversations recorded in full, stored securely for at least 10 years. And you've got to let them know that you've got the, that you're going to record the call. Also, you are required, if you're on certain Medicare calls, to read them the disclaimer about we do not provide or we do not offer every plan available in your area. So that's another thing that we're going to talk about today, how to get that set up within your system. So that way you can just hit play on the recording rather than having to speak it every single. So that's that. You'll notice in here on our articles, you can click on the links here to go to the help articles on these things. And today we're going to be talking about the basic dialer plan. So if you're on the basic plan, you only have outbound caller ID. You still have caller ID, area code recognition, SMS phone number purchase and call queues. You do have call recording, obviously, as well, but you don't have the inbound full VoIP solution. So on our AMS plan, which is our premier plan, we have the fact that you can purchase or report phone numbers for a full dialing experience, voicemail drop, disclaimers that are playable, IVR, phone book, do not call list, and then we'll go into best practices for calling and text.
Family or morning.
Amethyst, could you mute David Dodd, please? Feel free to unmute yourself if there is a question or a small enough group that I think that we could do it that way. But the best way to do it is to go into the chat and just ask me questions as we go, because I might be leading up to the answer to your question. Okay. Feel free as I'm going through these things to start setting things up on your side. Again, if you're an agent at the user, you don't have the settings section. But if you are an account owner or admin and you want to get those things set up, feel free to do so as we go through. I don't think. Yeah. So that, how do you get these things done? You set up the dialer and you're going to think through strategic calling campaigns and then start dialing. But the impact of creating those strategic calling campaigns are if you are actually targeting people in the right way, even if it's just like an open enrollment calling, right? If you have been strategic about the way that you've approached it, you're going to lead to better appointment success and better conversion. Um, Also, really important, you're going to improve your high scores on your phone number itself. So that way your call will get placed and not listed as possible spam with the carriers. You also will have compliant call recording and disclaimers that can save you time and effort. So it's really just, this is a way for you to be efficient, compliant, and then also really build up the trust score of your phone number, even if you're using it to dial cold call leads. All right, so the thing I want to, so we'll start with setting up the basics of the dialer. Everybody, whether you're on the AMS plan or the basic plan, would have that opportunity to, set up the basics of it. But there's one issue with the carriers right now that are the receiving carriers. If you're on the basic plan and just using caller ID, so that means that we built our platform on Twilio. So we have a Twilio phone number as the default calling number in your account. But that is not a number that you own. So we're just using your caller ID of your cell or your landline or whatever it is. And we're saying, okay, show this phone number when a call is initiated from this account. So that showing of the phone number now is getting blocked by a lot of carriers. So these cell phone carriers are just not allowing caller ID calls through, which is really disappointing. That started last year in about April, and it's been terrible. So even though you verified your phone number and all the things that I'm going to show you, it still is leading to a lot of these calls where you'll call somebody and it will just like disconnect. It won't go through, nothing will happen. It just automatically disconnects. And then if you try calling them from your cell phone, it works. And the reason is because on your cell phone, that's a number that you actually have. It's not using the masked caller ID. So it's from the number and also going through as the number. It's very frustrating. So I just wanted to give you guys the heads up on that, because it's a big change. And I am not here to like try to make you all upgrade to the or to the AMS plan from the basic plan, because it is a price jump, but it is something to consider. So anyway, let's go into it. I'm gonna go into my demo account. Can you all see my demo account? I'm on the dashboard right now. Amethyst, can you?
Yeah.
Great. Thank you. Okay. So to get it all set up, we go to settings, surprise. And then we go to phone dialer and call queues and we click edit. The first thing you'll need to do if you're on the basic plan or the AMS plan is you're going to activate click to call. And if you want call recording, you're going to hit activate. This call recording cannot be stopped other than by going in here and deactivating all call recording. So it's not like you can pause it or initiate the call recording while you're on a call. It's just on or off. So first tab, check both of those boxes and hit save update. Caller ID. This is where I was saying that you can have a variety of phone numbers. And even if you purchase a number, if you're on the AMS plan, you can actually still go into this caller ID and set the active account level caller ID. So whatever number is set as active caller ID would be the default number for the account. So if I was like, oh, I like this 323 number better, I would just switch it to that being the active caller ID. If you are going to use caller ID for a phone number that you have not purchased or ported into Radius, you can simply set that number up by saying 1, 2, 3, 4, nickname it main office. You can do area code recognition. However, you need one default that's just for all numbers, right? So I was, if I wanted to have this as the Arizona office, right? I could say, use this number for these area codes and then verify that. And then anytime a call, it goes to an area code with 480 or 602 or 923 or 928, whatever it is. Anytime that I call one of those numbers, that Arizona number is going to display. And that's how that caller recognition would work. But you need at least one number for all of the other area codes, right? So if there's a 917 number, you want one number to be available as the default. So you would have it as blank in that case. So you wouldn't put in any area codes. The area codes are really only for when I call an area code that is special, I want to use this number instead. So default is blank in the area codes, and then anything that's special, you can list out all of the area codes that you want it to apply to. And then you'll hit verify number. I don't have something in here to show you this, but do you notice how it says verified here? This is where, if it was not verified yet, it would say, and then it would have a code right next to it. So once you hit verify number, it will call you on that number. You have to pick it up and type in the code, and then that's how it gets verified. Okay. So that's the caller ID setup. Any questions on that? The area code questions seem to be the most confusing on this caller ID. And that's for AMS plans or basic plans. Okay. Then call queues. This is where you can create your call queues. So if you don't have an open enrollment one, let's say like AEP needs appointment, you can create one up here. So let's say you speak multiple languages in office. We could create AEP Spanish needs appointment. And then the sort order could be at the top of the list, or it can be alphabetical, whatever you want it to be. So let's say that this is the most important right now. So we'll put it to sort order 0. So that way it's first in the list. And then I'm only going to select the people in the office that actually speak Spanish. So nobody else is going into that call queue. But if it was just a general one, and I wanted to see, have all users have access to it, I would just say visible to all users. The agents or users in this case would only see leads and clients that they have access to. So if they can only see their own leads and clients, they would only see their own in the call queue. However, if you're an admin, you would see everybody's who's in that call queue list. So we can, when we build out that automated workflow, we can push people into very specific call queues per the agent, or we can just have them all in one. It's up to you. And it's very simple to create that call queue. So you give it a description, you give it a sort order, you determine who it's visible to, and you hit add call queue. If you have a new agent come on and you're like, I don't want to have to go through and edit each one of these call queues, you simply say, add this user to all queues, hit add. And then if you need to remove them from a call queue because they don't speak Spanish, for instance, you just click edit on the call queue. And then you just say only these people. So you can edit that very quickly and then save. Kathy asks, can you change the name? I assume that you're talking about the caller ID name. Yes, so you can name it whatever you want here, but you can't update it once you've created that. So you would have to like delete the number and then re-add it in, which I don't necessarily recommend. So this nickname, and also the nickname is only viewable to you. It's just for your internal reference. I will be showing soon how to get a registry for your phone numbers that are purchased or ported. And that's when you call me on my cell phone will display your company name, or it will say possibly Kathy, right? So that's a separate thing. This nickname is just internal. So it says, the nickname provided here will not be shown as caller ID. It's only for your reference. And the reason why is because sometimes it's just helpful to know, like, AZ office, California office, Nevada office. So that nickname is just more for assignment than it is for caller facing identification. Hopefully that answers that question. Okay. So for the basic dialer, that's pretty much what you have available as far as setup goes. I'll show you some other functionality in a little bit. But for the there's one other thing. When you're on the basic plan, we still advise that you purchase an SMS phone number. The reason is otherwise the default number that Radius has, so like a 240 number that's shared, would be what sends out those SMS. And so if they reply back to you, it will only get into your messages if that is unique to the system. It's a little bit wonky. So we now say purchase an SMS number. It's $2 per month. It's for texting only. So if they call that number, it will just go to a message that says this call or this number is not set up for calling. So you would have an SMS number that's unique to your account, and then you will set it up to be the SMS default. All this other stuff won't even show as an option for you if you're on the basic plan, but you just simply scroll down and you send all SMS using that number and hit save. So then at the account level, you have an SMS default number. I will say before we go on to the AMS stuff, if I go to account, my information, and caller ID, I, as the agent, can set up my own caller ID. And I can also choose from the available list to say, oh, this is my number, or this is my the SMS that I want to use that's a purchased number, and save. So you can have multiple SMS numbers, but there's only one that's the default for the account. The user specific ones, are in the account my information section. So you can only have one active caller ID. You can also still use that area code recognition, and then one default SMS for the user. And then they can also add in their own caller ID if they wanted to. Agatha asked if you need a license for texting. It's not a license, but you're supposed to receive one written consent for it. We've covered this in the sessions about compliance elements. So if you go into that document that I linked to in the chat, on the compliance pages, you'll see all of the regulations regarding those compliances. We're going to go into that a little bit more at the end, towards the end of this call. But basically, you'll need that opt-in consent for texting. And there are several solutions that we have within Radius to help you receive that and then track it properly. But you don't need a license for texting. You just need to follow the procedures and regulations. Okay. All right, so now back to the account settings for the AMS plan. So if you're on AMS, you can purchase or port a phone number into Radius. So if you have an existing number for business and you want to port that over into Radius, you would just on the help app say port number, and then we'll give you the instructions. You will also be able to purchase numbers if you want. So whether they're ported or purchased, they're $2 per month for a local number, $3 for a toll free. So if I just wanted to find a phone number, I would put in the area code, or I would put in the region, which is just like the state or the province. And then or you could also type in the number it contains, but don't do like all three of them. And then you can also search for toll-free numbers. So I'm going to hit find. I've got all these options here. I purchase a number, and then you can set it up. So the core things to set up are name it, so that way you know which number it is. So maybe it's the California main office. Who you're going to direct the calls to. So you've got options here. You can direct it to a single user, multiple users, or you could also set it to different groups, which I'll show you in a little bit, or all users. So everybody, specific people, or groups. Then you can also set who gets the voicemail. So sometimes you'll want the calls only to come through to the licensed agent, but you want their admin also to receive the voicemails, so that way they can help that agent through the busy season. So you can say this person and this person get to listen to that message. And if you leave it blank, it's just everybody. Okay, then you can set a welcome message. That's typically an IVR message, which is the press 1 for me, press 2 for you, press 3 for that. Or you could have just like a quick little, this call will be recorded disclaimer, transferring you to a live agent now. So that's the welcome message. The voicemail message is if nobody picks up that call, then it would say, thanks for calling Best Insurance. No one is available. Leave a message. You can record these, and I will show you that in the next part of the feature. Voicemail, email notifications. This is really helpful. So that way, if you're on longer calls, you can be getting voicemail notifications and seeing that like somebody else needs to help you with those calls. And you can have multiple. So it can be Danielle@email.com, somebody else at email.com, and just separate multiple emails with a comma. I like it because then as I'm in these long meetings, if I want to go over a little bit, and I can check my email really fast and see if I've got, people that we need to start calling back, and then I'll just wrap up that call that I'm on and then start calling those people back. So it kind of can help you gauge, how busy other people in the office are, and attention to all the things that are coming in. So we have call forwarding if it's a direct number to one user. If it's for multiple users, we don't have call forwarding because you don't want to steal an agent's calls, right? However, we now have ring groups, and I prefer the ring groups to the call forwarding. So that way in a ring group, you can set it so that way it calls all users, but also it can call your cell phone at the same time. We'll be going into that in just a few minutes. But I like that because then if I'm in front of my computer, I can pick up the call right from my computer. But let's say I just walk down the hallway to talk to somebody. I have my cell phone on me. I could pick it up from my cell phone and it still would be recorded and it still would associate with the leader, the client's record, but it's just called my cell phone directly at the same time. You can forward unknown messages, SMS messages to a specific number. So that way you could say, if a text comes in and we don't know which record it's from, I still will get that message on a certain phone number. You can block numbers from calling you. So 1 per row. So if this person is bothering me, I put their number in there, and then I put the next number in there, like so. You'll set the SMS default for sending SMS using a number, and then you'll hit save. So that's the inbound phone setup. Greetings and recordings. This is where you can call to record a greeting or a recording. You'll get a prompt to enter in your unique phone number or your unique code for the recording. So it goes into your account rather than somebody else's. You'll type that in and then you start recording. Or if it's like a long one, if it's not just like, this is Danielle, please leave a message, which is easy enough to say, but people, when they, like you're doing your attestations or your CMS disclaimer, they stumble all the time. So sometimes it's easier to just record it on your voice memos or something and then upload it as an MP3 here. So that way you can have like my voice, I would put, attestation Danielle's voice, and then only assign it to me. And then Levon's voice would be different than mine. So he would have his own voice being used and we'd label it as Levon and only assign it to him. You can have somebody from the company just do it themselves. So that way, or do it for the whole company, I should say. So that way you can just say, I'm going to play a disclaimer for you, and then we'll get into the details. And you hit play, somebody else's voice, and then you move on with your call. But then for voicemail drop, I always think it's really best to have it in each agent's voice. So if you're creating a voicemail drop, the best practice is for you to say, hi, Taya, and then drop the call, or then drop the voicemail, I mean. So that way I would record, this is Danielle calling from Best Insurance. I am prioritizing my clients before any new leads that I have for our open enrollment reviews. So please do get back to me as soon as possible. I'm going to be holding my calendar open only for existing clients for the next few weeks. So call me back to book a time. Super specific message. But also then, because I have to wait for the beep to drop the voicemail, I like personalizing it. So I would say, hi, Jeff, and then drop the rest of the message. And the reason why you'll need it in each agent's voice, if you do it that way, is because you don't want it to be, hi, Jeff, this is, best insurance ever, right? You need it in that same person's voice. So I think it really makes a huge impact. It's really annoying for the admins because then you have to upload each person's voice. But it's worth it, in my opinion. It's going to be time well spent that sets you apart from every other telemarketer calling during open enrollment season, because it's going to be that personalized experience. It's going to be so specific. It's going to reference their name and then move on with the call. And also with our system, there's not that weird wait time between you saying hello and the beep, right? Like oftentimes I know immediately when I have a telemarketer because of the fact that I'm like, hello. And if they haven't responded in that amount of time, I just hang up because of that delay. This setup is only if you are using the dialer. Agatha asked if this setup is only if you have the dialer. So all plans have the basics of what I just showed. And now this is if you're on our AMS plan, which is our premier plan. So we've now, the first 4 tabs, that was for the basic plan. And now the rest of these are for the AMS plan. And if you're interested in learning more about all the other features of AMS, I can go through that at another point, or I can just message you. Okay, so in the greetings and recordings, you will either call to record, you will upload an MP3, and you would name it. So if I were to upload an MP3, I would say AP number 1 Danielle. So that way I know it's in my voice, I browse for the file and I upload it. You can also do that creepy text to speech, which I do not recommend because it definitely sounds fake, but whatever, you do you. There are applications for it for sure. And then once I have created or uploaded my call recording, I'll click edit, and then I'm going to name it very specific. So this is AEP appointment needed. And I will include it in the voicemail drop list. So this is when I'm calling the person and I get their voicemail, I can drop this message. So I would include it in that. And then I can set who it's for. So this is going to be for Danielle because it's in her voice. You do not need to include it in the playable recordings list because of the fact that it's really only that voicemail drop, right? Playable recordings is really for the disclaimers. So recording that CMS disclaimer. If you're on the AMS plan, I actually recorded those disclaimers and you can just ask me for those if you want. So one of them is for the call recording where it's simply, this call is being recorded for quality and compliance assurance, transferring you to a licensed agent now. Or that, and so that would be like the recording disclaimer. Or you could have something like the CMS disclaimer. Let me just label that as CMS. Where it's, we do not offer every plan available in your area. Please call Medicare or your state health, whatever it is, right? So that whole thing. And then while that disclaimer is playing, you can be looking up how many plans you offer in their specific area. So the recording plays, and then at the very end, you say, I currently represent 7 billion organizations with 20,000 million plans, right? So that's how you would do that. So this would be a disclaimer. So it would be in the playable recording list, and you can have it for all, or again, it can be for a specific user. You do have to select if it's all or a specific user or a specific set of users. And the reason why is because that's how it gets attached to the actual seats within the system. Sometimes people are like, why wasn't it there? It's because you didn't select all or another person. So even if you're a single user, make sure one of those is selected. Any questions on the greetings and recordings? Okay. So for ring groups, this is where you can build your groups of who is going to get it. So let's say that this is for sales agents. Add ring group. Now I'm going to edit that, and I'm going to determine who is on this ring group. Also, you have an option to answer on no answer. So like if none of those sales agents are there, you can put it to another ring group of last resort, right? So like, and maybe that last resort rings to the owner of the company and to the owner's cell phone. So if no sales agents are available, it routes to the next tier of support. You can show the radius number as the caller ID. I do not recommend this. I much prefer to see the person who's calling me's caller ID, but that's an option. How many phones do you want to ring concurrently? You can leave it at 10, but basically that just means that if you have 12 agents in the ring group, only 10 of them would actually hear the call. Or if you've got a team of 5, if you have it set to 10 phones, it would still ring to all 5. But only the 10 is the max, actually. So then you just add people to the group. So I'm going to add me. I'm going to add this person, add phone. But then you'll also notice external phone number. This is where you can add in your cell phone. So that way, when that number is called, it rings your cell phone at the same time. It's very helpful. So it call you on Radius and it will call your cell phone. Once you're done with setting up the ring groups, you can go to phone numbers and then edit. So that way you can direct the phone number to the first ring group that you want it to ring to. IVR, again, this is on the AMS plans. You can say extension 1 goes to this, extension 2 goes to that person, and so on. You'll also set up the voicemail for that extension. Dialer statuses. This is a way for you to track, if you have a larger AMS account, you have the option to see the dialer statuses. I believe it's 10 users and above. So that way you can report on if your agent, how much available time your agents had on the phone, how many minutes they were on a call. And then also they can take themselves out of the dialer by showing that they're at lunch or in a meeting or whatever. So here is this in a meeting status. So they're not available for calls. And then the default status on the dialer is for like that they're available pretty much. So available, sort order 1, available for calls, and it's the default when they launch the dialer in the morning. If they're in the field, it's good for you to know that they're in the field so that you know that they're not just like waiting on calls, but they would still be available for calls. So that way they could pick up a call if they were, driving somewhere. So this dialer status can be reported on, and that is in reports and then dialer statuses. You can also see who's available by going to account agent dialer status. This is only available for the account admins and owners, but you can then see who all is in the system. Right now, I don't have anybody who's active in my demo account, so it's blank. But if somebody was active, so let me launch this call and I'll show you. Or so here I'm available. So here's my dialer statuses. I'm currently available, but if I was going to lunch, I would say I'm at lunch and I'm not available, but now I'm back. I had a very fast lunch. And now if I go to, not manage users, now if I go to agent dialer status, you see that I'm in the system and I'm available. And if I go to reports, dialer status history, I can see from beginning of the month until today, a summary report of who all was in that dialer and how long they took. So there's that lunch and there's how much time I've been available. So it's a nice way to track your agency. Okay. Then I go to settings, phone dialer. We have phone books. This is really helpful. So I recommend on the admin level or the account level, I should say, you enter in all of your client service phone numbers. So that way it's just much easier for your agents to loop in that third party on those calls. So you enter in all of that information. And then on the agent level, you can also add in your own phone book. So Bestie entry. Most of the time you're going to do that for admin or assistant. But now if I'm in the dialer and I want to quickly call that person, they're right there. So, and then underneath it are all the account level versions of who else I could loop into a call or just call them quickly. So that phone book is there for you. Now, here, so that's the phone book. After hours schedule. This is really if you have a virtual assistant or only one person who checks in on the weekends. You can build a weekend schedule, but you can also say, but at night, I forward it to this number. And that's going to be from Monday at 6 p.m. maybe is when I stop working, until Tuesday at 6 p.m. or at no, not Tuesday at 6 p.m. at 8:30 a.m. So I can keep on building that. So that way, then the next one would be Tuesday at 6 p.m. until Wednesday at 8:30. Those calls go to a virtual assistant. Additionally, there's a do not call list. This is rather new. You can import a list and you'll just have the phone number and the reason, which is optional. So all the numbers that you're not going to call, or you can add them manually. I really love this feature because let's say I wanted to block calling this number. So this number said, don't call me. I prefer texting. So having that reason for text is really helpful. So that way, if I see that I can't call them, I'll know I'm supposed to text them instead. But if it's an emergency, I can remove them temporarily from the do not call list and then give them that call to be like, hey, you need to pay your bill, otherwise you're going to lose your coverage. So that would be a reason to remove them temporarily, and then you can add them back in. But if they're just on the do not call list, it's good to know. Add number, right? So now let me show you if I do prefers text, add that number in, scroll down. So now let's say I was either using the call queue or a saved report to dial, or if I click on a number, you'll notice that if I hover over this, it says prefers text. But if I try to call them, it'll be like, nope, unable to call this number. It's on the do not call list, prefers text. I hit okay, and I'm like, you know what? I need to call them. They're about to lose their coverage. So I click on it. I remove the number. I hit okay. I call them. And then as soon as I'm done, I can click again here. And I just say prefers text. And now they're back on that do not call. Does this make sense? Okay, so that's the actual setup. But now let's go into some of the reasons why this is so important and the best practices. So I'm going to go over here. This is the best practices for calling. I covered this in the compliance in depth, but I want to go through it again. So this is not legal advice, but it is really helpful to know some of these strategies and rules. So there's the Telephone Consumer Protection Act, and there's the FCC rulings, and there's also the updated CMS rules. So there was a judgment against this one-to-one consent rule for the FCC ruling. So that has been removed, where like you don't need to, if you are getting phone numbers from a lead provider, they can give you the consent that they have to call those people, so they can resell the consent. However, the CMS guidelines haven't changed as far as I know, and you're still supposed to have explicit written consent for any beneficiary data. So it's always a good idea to send out the permission to contact form to the person, and or the ACA consent form. So it's still really helpful to do that in advance of calling them or in advance of sending them a text message, etc. Those are the rules, but they're always evolving. They're always changing. We've just built the dialer to be as compliant as we can try to make it. But one thing that's super important, and I know it's a lot of old feelings on telemarketing were just call them a bunch of times until they pick up. Well, that's how you get your phone number blocked. If you're on the AMS plan, please use that voicemail drop to speed things up while still leaving important and relevant messaging. It's going to lead to better responses and decrease people blocking your number. But really importantly, if you hang up too many times in an hour, you're going to be registered as likely spam, even if you've already done all of the, the things that you can do to improve your phone number. You'll still get flagged as spam if you have too many calls that are under 6 seconds long. But if you leave that voicemail drop, even though you might have only spent maybe 3 seconds on that call yourself, because that call, the voicemail will add on at least like 15 to 20 seconds, you're going to be outside of that 6 second long barrier. If you've purchased or reported a number into Radius, please submit a business verification. You'll need an EIN and a social media website. Sometimes instead of the EIN, we can also do some other kinds of business registrations that you have with your state, but this is really important. And I think it was Agatha who asked earlier, or maybe it was Kathy, can you change the name of your caller ID? This is how you would do that, because then we can register your phone number within a series of databases that it would list as your account number. So that business verification is really important. Just submit a tech ticket to us, click on the little help app, and then say business verification. That's only available for people on the AMS plan. However, even if you're on the basic plan, you can still register your number with Free Caller Registry. Learn more in that article, but basically you can like register your number to say, I'm legitimate as a business. This is my business detail. This is my information. And then that way other call analytics services will prevent you from being listed as spam. On the AMS plan, you can use those playable recordings to read out those disclaimers. So you can, read out this call is being recorded as a playable disclaimer, but also you can do the Medicare disclaimer. We do not offer every plan available, or even the ACA attestations. That's going to be recorded in the body of the call. So it's all compliant, and it'll also save your voice and your sanity. You can maintain your call recordings for the required amount of time with Radius. It's typically 10 years that you have required as the call recording hold or storage time. With Radius, we just have it so that way it's the length of your time with Radius. If you ever leave us, and please don't, you would just export your call recordings so you can still maintain them for that required amount of time. Agatha asked, how do we find these articles? I had given you this in the link, and you simply click on the, you just click on it to access it. So here, we're about to go into the best practices for texting. So I'm just going to click on that link, and I'm brought to the article. So let me just share this again in the chat before. Copy link. There you go. That's the presentation deck. So for SMS, it's slightly more uptight than even the phone calling is. So we like to recommend just get as many of the consents as you can. So using the permission to contact or the consent forms, so that way they can explicitly say yes to text messaging. But if you're doing a lead capture form, so maybe it's from your website or from a Facebook ad or something, if you have created the analytics field for opt-in for text messages, and then they say yes or no, then you can build automated workflow campaigns based off of, if they've said yes, supplement the rest of their campaigns with this texting campaign. So that's really helpful. We're going to build those on Tuesday. I'm going to show you how you can use those opt-in automations. So just be aware of that. It also references that you would just go to settings analytics in Radius to create that if you don't already have an opt-in for text messaging analytic. But this is really, really helpful as far as pushing through if they've opted into text messages directly from your form. You can also create an opt-in for texting in your email communications. And if you're on the phone with someone, a newer feature that we have is if you go to templates, or if you've been with us for a very long time, it's called Drips, and you scroll down, we have text templates. So if you're on the phone with somebody, you can create a text template for verbal opt-in for texting. And then it could say something like, hi, thanks for confirming your choice of receiving text messages. Please reply yes. You can always reply stop to unsubscribe, etc. And then that way, if I'm on the phone with them and they're like, can you just text me that link? I could say, great, I just need written consent that you allow me to text you. So just give me 1 second. Oops, this person doesn't have a phone number in the cell field. So let me just add that. So send text. And then I'm going to say, please just reply yes to this message. I send it to them. They say yes. And then I say, great, here's my calendar availability. So having that text template is really helpful. So that way you can just send it quickly to them. Okay. While clients are typically viewed to have given you consent because you have a business relationship with them, we still advise getting explicit consent for texting because of all of these evolving regulations. I just think that it's a good idea to have. Yeah, before we move on, Dana said, can you show where that text template is again? So you go to templates on the left-hand side column, or you go to drips, depending on your system. You scroll down beyond the text, the email templates, and you go to text message templates and add a text message template, name it, and then put the message in. You can also personalize it down here. And then if you want that to be available for all users, not just yourself, you can check that box and hit submit. And then when you're in a leader or client file, you would go into their file and you would say send text. Those templates are not for automated workflows. It's very confusing. It's only for direct messaging. So just be aware of that. Useful frequency and content are vital. You do not want to try to override the fact that we do not allow for mass texting. Don't use your text messaging to say happy 4th of July. You will get blocked so fast by so many carriers if you do that. However, we do allow for texting out during open enrollment. And the reason is because, well, I mean, we allow for texting, however, but if you abuse it, the fines are passed on to you and you're going to block your phone number and it's going to be a whole Megillah. Don't do it. So during open enrollment, that's an actual need that your clients have. So that's much more specific to their need than them needing to get a happy 4th of July text from you, right? So being very relevant and also not sending it so often. So oversending or sharing irrelevant content will lead to opt-outs and reports of spam. You can track your delivery rates and your opt-outs and blocks in the reports, SMS reports, and then you can tweak any workflows that are generating a high level of opt-outs and make adjustments. Personalize the message to make sure the person understands why you're reaching out to them and keep them short. So I really recommend keeping the messaging short and to the point, not only because that's going to be a better client experience, but also because then you won't have so many SMS charges. Basically, you get a certain allotment of text credits with your subscription each month. And if you go over that, it's like 1 cent additional credit. But the credits are broken into segments. Even if the message, if like you write a novel in each text message, it will be broken up into segments. It'll still look like one message to the leader, the client, but it will be charged as 4, 5, 20 credits. So keeping them short is helpful. Avoid salesy language like call now, urgent, etc. And don't use all caps or emojis. You can learn about forbidden message categories here. I don't think that you'll have those message categories. It's really much more about like investment and financial services. But do check that out. Comply. We already auto stamp the opt out for you on every message other than a direct reply thread. So it will say sent by your account name, reply to unsubscribe. So, that's already auto stamped for you. Radius is HIPAA compliant, so your data is secure. Learn about your potential fines here. Compliance and appropriate messaging is your responsibility. If you start sending out messages that are getting flagged as spam, the fines will be passed on to you if there are any fines incurred. We'll also reach out to you if there's a very problematic level of block rates or whatever. And then we'll just either pause your send if it's like really abusive, but we're going to make the attempt first to get you to solve that issue before we just shut you down as far as the text messaging goes. But people sometimes don't see the messaging that we give you. So just be on the lookout. If we ever send you an SMS warning email, that's why we're trying to get you to not use salesy language or something like that, which is creating a lot of blocks. Let me show you quickly before we wrap up that SMS reporting. So you go to reports, you go to SMS delivery, and then you say for the date range of this. I don't really have that many options here, so I'm going to say for any workflow, but I think it's really great to look by workflow. And then I can see that I have 100% success. I don't have any failed or blocked. But if I start creeping up into like the tens of the block rates, I need to adjust my messaging. Any questions on the setup of this? Again, we'll go into like how to utilize the dialer in really creative ways on Monday, but this was much more about setup stuff. Any questions? Okay. Well, have a great day. Have a beautiful weekend. And message us in the help app if there's anything that you need. And we hope to see you in the sessions next week. Bye.